If you have ever heard Spanish and Portuguese, probably you have thought, wait a minute, are those languages the same language or they are different languages? At first glance, they look extremely similar. They share thousands of words, they have similar grammar rules, and even some expressions are exactly the same. So today's question is, actually learn Spanish and Portuguese at the same time? The answer may surprise you. Okay, let's start with some phrases. This is Spanish and this is Portuguese. They're almost the same, right? So why they are so similar? We need to learn a little bit of history. Portuguese and Spanish come from Latin, especially from the Bulgar Latin, and especially from the Iberian branch of Bulgar Latin. When the Roman Empire took control of the Iberian Peninsula, Latin language became the daily language from this area. But as soon as Roma fell, the Roman Empire fell, varieties of Latin became more and more isolated, and lately, with the time, over the centuries, they become different languages. So we can say that Spanish and Portuguese are siblings, not the same language. What now is Spain, Spanish was developed, and what it's now Portugal, Portuguese was developed. How similar are these two languages? Linguists estimate that between 85% and 90% of the vocabulary it's the same or almost the same. That means that the difference is really small. Here we have some words that are the same in both languages. Beyond the vocabulary, they also use two grammatical genders, feminine and masculine, and the structure is pretty similar. For example, so why, if they are so close, students struggle with them? Three main reasons. The first one is the false friends. There are some words that seems to be the same, but the meaning is different. For example, embarazada in Spanish means pregnant, and embarazada in Portuguese means embarrassed. Exquisito in Spanish means delicious, and exquisito in Portuguese means strange. Number two, the pronunciation. Spanish pronunciation it's very constant. We pronounce the words the same way they are written. But in Portuguese we have nasal vowels, we have reduction vowels, and depending on the variety of Portuguese, Brazilian and Portuguese from Portugal, we have a huge difference. Biggest challenge here is to understand the other language, because you can read a text and understand almost everything, but when someone is speaking and they are speaking quite fast, it's hard to understand what they are saying. So the pronunciation is the biggest challenge. And finally, the third reason is that the grammar rules are not 100% the same. For example, in Spanish we say ellos comenzaron, and in Portuguese we say eles começaram. So it's pretty similar, but it's not the same. But fortunately, those differences are really small and they're not really significant. So how can you learn these languages at the same time? As a polyglot, the first thing that I will do to learn Spanish and Portuguese at the same time is to focus on the same vocabulary. For example, these words are the same in both languages, so you learn the same words for two languages, effortless. Second, focus on the spelling patterns. These two languages come from Latin, and we have some things that are almost the same, and we just need to learn the code switch. For example, in Spanish, when we have sion, in Portuguese we have são. For example, información, informação. Educación, educação. In Spanish, when we have that, in Portuguese we have dade. Realidad, realidade. In Spanish, when we have ble, in Portuguese we have vel. Impossible, impossível. Responsable, responsável. Finally, just learn one language first and then the differences with the other one. That means, if you speak already Spanish, you can notice what's the difference between Spanish and Portuguese. So you don't have to learn the grammar and the rules of these two languages at the same time. That's confusing and you're wasting your time. Instead of asking, what do I need to learn? You should ask, what changes or how it is different in one language or the other. Finally, you just need to train your ears and listen to these two languages almost daily so you can enter in the atmosphere of the language, to listen to podcasts, to watch videos, to read things, and with the time you will start understanding how does the system for these two languages work and how can you mix them to learn two languages at the same time. Answering directly to the question, can you learn Spanish and Portuguese at the same time? The answer depends on your level. If you're a total beginner, for example in Spanish, don't start learning Portuguese. It's confusing. Focus first in one language and then the other one. But when you have enough level, you're in the middle, you can say, okay, I already speak quite good Spanish or I already speak quite good Portuguese, so I can start learning the other language. So if you have already an intermediate level, you can start learning these two languages. If not, you just have to wait a little bit. Remember, Spanish and Portuguese are not identical twins, but they're really close siblings. You can use the language engineer to learn more than one language at the same time. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments if you have already tried to learn two languages at the same time.